Hi guys, just trying out a new format for these reasons. This is something I put together for the Tableau Singapore conference earlier this year. Just kind of putting my thoughts down on why I kind of value Tableau, but also just on a way to get people to change their mindsets a bit to get the most out of the product. It is 25 minutes long, so if that's too long for you, on the next slide there'll be, on each section, there'll be a timestamp or annotation, so you can kind of jump to that section. But it's probably worth watching the whole thing. Cool. Enjoy. Okay, so yeah, the agenda for this is going to break it into 3 or 4 parts. First bit is just going to kind of cover the before Tableau world I lived in, which you might live in, or maybe you're trying to transition out of. Then kind of talk about the after Tableau world I now inhabit, where I've discovered it and the kind of benefits I've seen, and hopefully you can see too. And then it will just lead nicely on to how you can explore data and embrace it and just kind of, no matter how big or complex it is, just have fun and you'll find those right insights for your company or yourself. And then lastly, just talk a little bit about a concept on just how you can get really efficient and become part UX designer or user experience designer when building out dashboards, because ultimately you're designing those for an audience, not just you. And just to cover, so I'm not going to go into any of the sort of boring detailed tactics on this part of on this video. I'm going to more talk for strategic stuff. So sort of take the river, not use the boat kind of stuff. So if you want more of this tactical stuff, there are some other videos on this channel or my website. Go check those out. And if you have any questions I don't cover, let me know and I'll make a video on that. Okay, yeah, so who am I? Why am I here today talking to you about all this stuff? So, hi, I'm David, and I come with over 10 years of experience in data analysis at big companies. You know, all these companies here had giant data sets, lots of problems to solve, which I like doing. And, you know, so I really found my niche here and could kind of really help them solve problems and get to the heart of their data and really leverage the most out of it, rather than just kind of chipping away and getting tiny bits off. Equally, my hobby is extended outside of work, where I have my own website, Datasaurus-Rex, where I push myself to learn how to visualize data and understand it better and also tell better data-driven stories, which you on the site and also on the YouTube channel, which you're watching now. And also, you know, I've had some of my work presented at the Sydney Opera House, which is kind of fun for TEDx Sydney, and where I dug out every spoken word of every TED talk and found out what the most popular words are. And if you want to find that out, just check a link in the description below, and there's a video for that. So yeah, let's just go in. So it's before Tableau world. So probably quite a few of you are here right now, or maybe you were here and this will kind of speak to you. But this section I just want to kind of focus and just frame up the kind of challenges you've either faced or are facing, and then allude to that there's a better way of overcoming all this. So before Tableau, I was really good with spreadsheets, I'll be honest. You know, like I love solving challenges. I dove in. If I found something I didn't know, I'd try and figure it out and, you know, just keep trying to find stuff out. And so therefore I kind of know a lot of strengths and limitations with spreadsheets like Excel, so like VBA, complex equations, hidden functions, that kind of stuff. So equally I can empathize with your frustrations because I've been there. And I'm not just drinking the Tableau Kool-Aid. I've actually been in this place where I didn't use it and I was like, oh, I wish there was something which solved my problems. Tableau can kind of do quite a bit of this for me, so that's why I'm very excited about what it can do and help you with and me with. Equally, Excel still has a place. I use it for a few things like editing data, but there is an article on the Tableau website called Excel, Great Hammer, Lousy Screwdriver. So if you want to see a more in-depth read on what the differences are, go check it out. But it's a bit silly, but I literally, at 2 different workplaces, I got the nickname Spreadsheet Wizard. And it was just kind of nice because, you know, people would come to me with problems and I'd want to help them out. And that was just a reward in itself. But equally, I learnt new things. So if they came to me with a problem and I couldn't figure it out, I go Google it, I'd spend those 5 minutes. And then I come back with a solution, help them out, but it also helped me because I kept building out what I call a solution repertoire. So the more problems I encountered, and the more solutions I can figure out, every time I encounter a new problem, I can either solve it immediately, or it's an opportunity to learn new ways to solve more problems. So by the time after like many years, there's no such thing as a problem I can't tackle. And this is something I'd encourage you guys to do too, at your work. You know, helping people out's great, but in a weird way it helps you out too, and you kind of get a bit of a good reputation. And you're learning, which is always fun in itself. So let's just outline a few common challenges in this before Tableau world. So the first one is you fear change. You built this dashboard, people kind of start using it, and then they rightfully come to you with suggestions or feedback. And you should embrace that, but you're going, oh God, no, I don't want to do that. If I move this cell or this table or this row, it's going to break things. I've got to go figure out the equations. It's like a hassle. I don't want this, which is really bad. So it's a bit negative. So you're kind of fearing or resenting any request for changes. So in a weird way, your designs are locked in. So obviously you need to make changes, but you won't get to them. Maybe you'll save them up. So every 2 months or 3 months, you might make a whole batch of changes and you block off half a day to make them. But that's not very good, because you're not meeting the needs of the business immediately. You're going to have to save them up and act a lot more slowly, which isn't always great, especially in fast-moving environments, business environments. It can be very slow. You ask a question, you can figure out how to do it, but it might take you 20 minutes with equations or VLOOKUPs, and it's not ideal. Equally, it can time out or it can crash, which is horrible. And I've seen this screen, even seeing this fake screenshot now, this makes me a bit shuddery, because I'm like, because this represents hours of your life gone, and if you didn't save or back up, you've then got to spend all those same hours on top of what you just wasted to kind of resolve the problem, and that's always very demoralizing. And that's not ideal. I don't think I've made Tableau crash yet, and I've thrown several gigabytes or tens of gigabytes at it, so I think it can handle way more, but have a check. Equally, the tools and data limit you. So, because it's very hard to maybe aggregate day figures into years or months, you only pull out the year, like say a data point with only years in them. But as soon as someone wants to ask you, oh, how's it doing on a daily level, you can't do that. So you've got to go back and pull it out and pull up the data from the database and rebuild everything. And so therefore, the limitations of your tools are limiting how you pull data out, and that can make things slower and harder. And when things are slower and harder, you don't want to do them, so you're less inclined to kind of explore and ask questions of the data. And equally, because you're locked in with these data choices and your tools, you can't ask these kind of silly questions. You can only ask what you think you already know the answer to in this very closed mindset. You might have a data source which is massive and full of rich insights, but you can't get to them because you aren't even aware of the questions you need to ask. Because as soon as you start thinking about, I might want to ask that, you just give up, because you're like, it's going to take me half a day or half an hour and I don't have time for that. And that shouldn't be the case. And lastly, say you overcome all of these challenges, you now have an issue of distribution. That becomes a problem. Say you build 50 reports and people want them. That's now 50 things you have to do, say every week. Download the data, refresh it, change all the filters, email it out. And even if that takes 5 minutes per report, 50 reports, that's like a day or longer. That's a lot of time you're not spending being an analyst, and you're just maintaining things. And that's really boring as well. You didn't get into these jobs to do that. So your success becomes a millstone around your neck, which it shouldn't be. You shouldn't be punished for doing good stuff. So all these issues. So basically, in this before Tableau world, all these negative connotations kind of arise, and there's no opportunities, or all barriers or pain points. So you just become afraid of the data, which isn't ideal. So now this brings us into the after Tableau world, where I suddenly discovered it, or it found me. A bit silly, but back in 2010, I was given it. I've discovered it. My job gave me the tool to use it to access one simple data set. It was very big, but it was just one task, and that was fine. There's just use it for this. But I applying my kind of curious problem-solving mindset, I started to see, oh wow, there's all these different data connectors. What else can it do? And as soon as I started playing around and throwing Excel files and CSVs and connecting to Google BigQuery and other SQL databases, I was like, oh my God, it can do so much more. And that's why I just really invested the time to explore and play around with it, because I started to think, if they can solve these kind of problems, even at a simple data ingestion point, what else can it do? So I kind of applied my hacky mindset to start solving even more problems, like building dashboards which just update automatically, or just asking those dumb questions. So I asked 10 dumb questions, and 9 of them might be wasted, but I can suddenly find them out very quick. I've only wasted 5 minutes. And then I find that one awesome insight, and that's a whole new stream of revenue or a whole new insight which the company didn't have and now they can benefit from. So yeah, because you can just ask questions and get answers very quickly. So we kind of start to flip all these problems on their head. So fearing change, embrace it. Basically, Tableau, someone says, oh, I want this changed, I want this column here, or can we break this out by country? That's just like a drag and a drop. If you understand pivot tables, you can really pretty much do most things. So you don't have to go, damn you, you've come with me with a perfectly valid thing, like request to make this better. Oh, that's great, keep them coming. I'll build these for you, so now let me help them make them as relevant as possible. So you embrace change, because it's just as easy as a drag and a drop. Your designs are no longer locked in. You can just keep making changes as long as they're relevant, and they help people. There's no effort to just keep changing and rapidly updating your outputs to meet the needs of the business, rather than waiting 3 months before you put them all in. And they could even be out of date by then. Pretty fast. A bit of a caveat here, as long as you have good data, it can't work magic, but as long as you have good data in a very granular way and all that stuff, Tableau can just crunch through it all, build macro views, micro views, and you can just, as I said before, you can only waste 5 minutes asking dumb questions, but then if you get that one insight, it's worth it. Whereas in the old days, you ask those 10 questions, that could take you half a day. Because it takes too long, you just get put off doing it, and it disincentivizes you from exploring the data, which is always bad. So now, the tools and the data don't limit you. The size of the data doesn't matter. Tableau can eat tens of gigabytes easily. And as I said, it's a drag and a drop. Very intuitive. So you can just get on with asking those questions, not figure out, I've got to build this kind of VLOOKUP table, and can pivot tables do that? And it's just, none of that happens. You just go, I want to do this. And you can. And even if someone sits down with you and says, right, I want to see revenue by month, by country, they've literally just described the thing you have to do anyway. You just drag, and you've got it. So it's really easy and intuitive to interpret what people want as well, visually, with your data. And this is where you get to explore. So I won't dwell on this because I've already mentioned it, but you just explore, dive in. There's no wasted time now, because it takes very little time to do that. But then the huge payoffs can be there if you land upon a great insight no one's seen, and you start to figure out those unknown unknowns, just by playing around with the combinations and just getting stuck in. And equally, you shouldn't fear getting new data sets like you will at work. In the old days, it'd be like, it'd be a pain, but now it's like, great, let me at it. I can just figure it all out in seconds or minutes and be really confident with it. And lastly, distribution. So now Tableau's got a lot of things like Server and Tableau Online. It just makes distribution really easy, like via the web-based stuff. So it doesn't matter if you build one report or 500, as long as you've set them up, they don't have to bog you down, because they'll just get updated as long as you set the data up correctly, and people come to the reports. You don't have to push them out with emails. So you're now not burdened with extra work. You're just still freed up to be an analyst, but now you're empowering more people to understand the data by building dashboards which don't take any more time than just to build, and not update them and stuff like that. There is a video, I'll link to it as well, just showing the opportunities, the time savings you can get, and how you can empower your analysts to analyze by kind of approaching this kind of streamlined automated reporting, but I won't focus on that here. Essentially, we've now flipped all these negative points into positive ones, and we're now embracing the data. We're excited to see it. It doesn't matter how big or scary it is, we're going to master it because we've got the right tools. And now we've kind of pivoted our mindset as well from a before Tableau to an after Tableau world, and we're not scared of it anymore, which is great. So in the old days, or the whole principle of being an analyst is to turn data into insights, right? And there are going to be limitations to hold you back. And in this before Tableau world, it was the tools and the data which would hold you back and make it harder to get to these insights. But as we've just seen in this after Tableau world, it sounds cheesy, but your imagination and creativity are the things really holding you back now, because the tools are gone. It's intuitive, it's fast, it's quick. You think it, you can do it. So now it's your imagination and creativity which is the real barrier to getting to the insights. And that's not generally a problem, but it's just being aware of it and changing your mindset to do this stuff is kind of the important thing here. Which leads us on to exploration. I just want to spend a tiny bit of time here focusing on how you shouldn't be afraid of the data, just dive in, have fun, and explore, and you and your company will just be all the better for it. So I do this with my websites. One of the reasons I set Datasaurus-Rex up is to just get better at exploring and learning how to handle new data sets. And I'll quickly rattle through a few, but I've built tools and built data sources and jumped into new data sources I wasn't an expert in and quickly figure stuff out. So I'll quickly breeze through, but if you want to find out more, they're all on the website. So I built a dog year calculator because it's not as simple as 1 year times 7. I also looked at dengue fever cases and mosquito breeding habitats in Singapore, where I live, to see if we can crowdsource things and figure out if there are patterns to help kind of solve the problem or make it better. It's kind of an ode to John Snow as well, the physician in 19th century London who used data visualization to help fight this disease as well. Game of Thrones deaths, I record them all so we can kind of visualize and understand and find insights about who's killed who with what, where and when. Similar for Harry Potter, you just pull out all the data from who casts what spells. Nuclear testing data, again, I wasn't an expert, but then I could start to find out, oh, why was there a pause at this time? Or I didn't realize England tested nuclear weapons in Australia. Those kind of things, you're not an expert, but a sign of a good data visualization can empower people who don't know anything about the data to suddenly start asking good questions. And you'll find that in your reports you build in your company as well. Again, telling stories, building tools. So in some of the streamlined optimizations in terms of reporting using Excel, Tableau, Google BigQuery, I can now validate and show people the actual impact. So it's not just a few minutes here and there. It's actually lots and lots of a few minutes here and there for a lot of people, a lot of times a week, which can lead to very large cost savings. And again, if you want this tool, if you build this, go check out the site. There's some links in the description below, but this was very powerful. I found at one company I could save them $500,000 a year if they just gave me a week to focus on streamlining a report. The good news is they did. YouTube data, make it interactive. This video, I want to see what it is. You click on it, this will update, and you get all the stats. And one of the other key things here is you're empowering users to explore the data, and you don't have to make every single insight. You can build things and set them up so they can really drill into what they care about. Spoken word TED Talks, I've already mentioned this, but again, if you want to check it out, visit the site. Plane crash data, I thought this is very interesting to see which airlines and all that stuff, and because I fly a lot now, so I wanted to figure it all out and find out what the airlines were the safest historically. And lastly, I even managed to animate using Tableau. Don't. It's pointless, but I wanted to see if I could do it. I had the thought and I could execute it with Tableau. And so it's ultimately pointless. Pixar's not going to pick this animation technique up anytime soon, but it just goes to show the versatility of the tool set. Like if you're creative and you've got the right data, or even if you have data you're not familiar with, you can just really make sense of it and make it accessible not just to yourself, but other people as well. So, I kind of do it, as I just said, to learn. I learn by doing. I develop. I now can master different data sets, different types of data like geo or time and all that kind of stuff. Opportunities for doing things that, like I said, led me to present at the Sydney Opera House, which is kind of cool, and other interesting speaking events. And so if you have any cool data sets, send them my way. Love to hear about them. And also, just shows how versatile the tool is. You think it, you can do it. Dive into unknown data sets and master them pretty easily. And again, as I just said, empower other users to understand data, which is a very powerful thing to do, especially in your job. So that just leads me on to the last section, something I call the lean dashboard, where basically, you're now going to start to build out a lot of reports for people, but you don't want to waste time figuring out what works and what doesn't. So there are kind of techniques you can employ, especially using Tableau, to kind of be efficient in getting to the heart of what people want and want to visualize. So again, data to insights, main point of being an analyst, but I forget sometimes that your audience is actually, you've got to go via them. Because if you're building a report for you and only you can understand it, it's pointless. You've got to have people in your company, the right people understanding it. And I remember going to my boss at another company going, right boss, look, I've got all your data, I can chop it up any which way you want. What do you want to see? And I remember it very clearly. He turned around and said, Dave, I don't know what I don't know, and I need your help to figure this out. And that's just when the penny dropped. And I was like, oh my God, yes, he's come from this world too, where he just knew he couldn't get what he wanted, or he didn't even know what he wanted, but he knew that it sat there in the data. So in a strange way, you as an analyst, as long as you've overcome all the kind of boring day-to-day problems, and you're building out these dashboards and you have the tools to do it and the data to do it, you now are part user experience or UX designer as well, because you have to kind of really tailor your dashboards to meet the needs of your end users. And that's kind of exciting because it now makes data analysis not just a science, but also a bit of an art as well. A bit of a variety there. And I read this book called The Lean Startup, and it talks about failing fast, learning quickly, pivoting with, finding a problem or a solution with a minimal amount of resources. And you can kind of apply this too to how you build dashboards, and you'll see that coming up in the next slide. But it's just something to think about, otherwise you could spend a lot of time getting bogged down in the details, or committing a lot of time building something you realize people don't want. So let's just say you got a dashboard, you want to go from A to B, nothing to the actual final product, but you don't just get there straight away. Yeah, you kind of have to get feedback, learn from that, build stuff out. You might get your first version, but it doesn't just end there, right? Because we haven't gone to the end result of what people want. So you kind of keep going through this process, but you're consulting the user. You're not just building things and saying, I know best. You're using your skills with the data and visualization to really get to the heart of what they need. So by the time you go through all this process, you keep getting closer to the final product. And it's great because you now know it's validated because they've been engaged the whole way. And you've only spent a few minutes here and there. So like to make that change that chart or add this in, it's effortless because you can just do it with a few drag and drops. Whereas in the old days, it would take days or hours, or you just wouldn't bother doing it. So by the time you've really committed to getting to the final version, you and the client know that's what they want. And then you integrate it. Like maybe you build it into your own dashboards or whatever, but basically you now know everyone's happy with this because everyone's gone along for the ride. So it's a win-win scenario. You leverage the full potential of your data doing this. You explore the unknown unknowns with everyone. You're just diving in, playing around, finding these cool insights, and not wasting time doing it because it only takes minutes. You can answer varied and complex questions with your clients or internal stakeholders, even in real time. The amount of times you understand your data, you bring in Tableau to the meeting, you blow people away. Like they go, oh, well, what about this? And they assume you're just going to go away and come back in a week, but you can just do it there and then there's more questions. And that's amazing because you're now having a conversation with your data to figure this stuff out. You don't just go to a doctor and they ask you one question and they fix you. It takes a bit of back and forth to really drill into the heart of the problem. But this will make you look so good in your company if you can just navigate data in real time and get to the heart of the questions. Because I guarantee the old ways will just be, all right, boss, I'll come back to you in a week. And then it's either forgotten, it's irrelevant, or it's just, there's no momentum here. Equally, you might find some complex insights, but you can now present them very easily with visuals. There's tons of options. It's really well considered. They're adding more and more features, but essentially it lets you convey in visuals your insights, not just tables of data, which might lose quite a few people or bore people. And equally, as in the last slide just said, you can rapidly accelerate and iterate through a design process. So in the old days, say if you had your own tool, you might have to involve costly time and money exercises with user experience designers and engineers, and you might spend a month building something only to find out it's not what people want, or they want it slightly tweaked, but that would take weeks again, whereas now it's just drag and a drop. So by the time you've figured out what they really want, you've validated the need, and you're really comfortable you've got there and you haven't wasted a ton of resources doing it. You just only wasted minutes or hours of your own time, not a whole team. It's kind of exciting as well. Again, just not being aware of all this stuff, or just being aware of it now, can really just help shift your mindset. So when you do start using Tableau, you get the most out of it. You're not trying to use Tableau like Excel or something like that. So in summary, just want to kind of just wrap it up. So basically in the old days before Tableau, there'd be a lot of negativity. You'd fear the data. It'd just be, ugh, I don't want to do this. Another problem. Just go away. It's going to crash. Or something like that. Whereas now all that goes out the way. And now in an after Tableau world, you're here, you can, your problems, great problems are now being how creative can you be and how much can you explore the data. Because now the tools and the issues and the resistance to doing that has now gone away. And hopefully you can really master your data sets and really get the most out of them, and your company as well. So hopefully if you're still here, I hope we can get you here. And if you are starting to use Tableau, I hope this has kind of shifted your mindset a bit to look at a bigger picture and what it can do. And thank you very much. Cool. Hope you enjoyed that. If you want to ask me any questions, let me know in the comments below. Equally, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. That always helps me. And here are some other videos to look at, if you're kind of inspired in this kind of front, or if you just want to kind of see more of what I do. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.